We've all been promised something great before, only for the thing we thought we were getting turn out to be something much less than what was originally sold to us. That's how I ended up with a timeshare and a caravan in Wales. As wrestling fans, we are well accustomed to letdowns, false advertising, and promoters telling all sorts of porcupines to get our money before laughing in our disappointed faces. There have been many bad bait and switches before. Sometimes they work and often they don't. These are 10 of the most notable. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 outrageous wrestling bait and switches. Join us! Number 10, Becky's back, but where's Banks? One of the major matches planned for SummerSlam 2021 was a SmackDown Women's title rematch between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. The two had put on a classic in the historic main event of WrestleMania 37 Night 1, and anticipation was high for round 2. The bout was built up over weeks of television and promoted as one of the key selling points for the biggest party of the summer. Then, in the week before the show, both Banks and Belair were removed from WWE live events for undisclosed reasons, and rumors began to circulate that Sasha wouldn't be cleared in time to work SummerSlam. Despite this, WWE continued to promote the match right up until the entrances. Belair was there, but Banks was nowhere to be seen, her place taken by Carmella before Becky Lynch returned and took the place for herself before beating Belair to win the title in a matter of seconds. The whole thing left a sour taste in fans' mouths as the popular champ was beaten unceremoniously, as well as the fact that WWE reportedly knew for many days in advance that the boss wouldn't be at the show. Number 9, Batista reigns on JBL'S parade. When WWE Champion John Cena was drafted to Raw in the summer of 2005, it left the blue brand without a world champion. I mean, for a minute, the top dog on SmackDown was, by virtue of the fact that he held the United States title, Orlando Jordan. Good God, man. Seeking to rectify the situation, General Manager Teddy Long booked a 6-pack elimination challenge to crown a new champ. Per the GM, the winner would win the brand new SmackDown Championship. In the match, John Bradshaw Layfield outlasted The Undertaker, Chris Benoit, Muhammad Hassan, Christian, and Booker T. The match went a mammoth 45 minutes, and it really felt like something historic was happening right then and there. As JBL was celebrating his triumph, however, Long reappeared and informed him that there was no need for a SmackDown champion, because then World Heavyweight Champion Batista had been drafted over from Raw. That was obviously a popular decision with those in attendance, but it was a clear and obvious bait and switch. They'd invested basically the entire show into promising a brand new champion, only to reveal the animal and render it all for nauts. Well, not for nauts, I mean JBL wasn't the champion, so really it was a good thing. Number 8, the return of Diesel and Razor Ramon. One of the biggest wrestling stories of 1996 was the defections of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall from WWE to WCW. A significant moment in the burgeoning Monday Night Wars, the signing of Hall and Nash and their subsequent formation of the New World Order alongside Hulk Hogan helped turn the tide and put serious pressure on WWE. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and my oh my, were WWE desperate in the autumn of 1996. A few months after the Outsiders had left the company, announcer Jim Ross proclaimed on WWE television that Diesel and Razor Ramon were returning to the promotion. But how could Big Daddy Cool and the Bad Guy be coming back when they just left and were now working for the competition? Well, they couldn't, and they didn't. WCW Vice President Eric Bischoff confirmed that Hall and Nash were under contract and weren't going anywhere. And so, Rick Bogner and Glenn Jacobs were eventually introduced as Diesel and Razor, a move that was designed to turn JR heel but was a really bad look for the company, and the storyline died an immediate death. Number 7, twice in a lifetime. WWE did something unprecedented when they announced the main event of WrestleMania 28 would be The Rock vs. John Cena an entire year before the event was due to take place. That gave the WWE universe, as well as casual viewers, a long time to get interested and invested in the match. WWE added to the hype train by billing the match as being once in a lifetime. Wow, so the biggest star of the current generation is going to go one-on-one with the biggest star of a previous generation, and oh yeah, he's the biggest movie star on the planet, and you're telling me that I'm only gonna get to see this thing once? Unsurprisingly, the event set a pay-per-view buy rate record for the company, with 1.217 million people paying their hard-earned cash to watch it, not to mention drawing around 80,000 to Miami's Sun Life Stadium. WWE brass, not caring how strongly they'd promised the match as being a one-time deal, then went and booked it again in the main event of WrestleMania 29 the following year. The build, match, and buy rate were all poorer than the first time. Number 6, Punk's back. Another reason people took umbrage with Rock Cena Part 2 is because they felt as though CM Punk should have, in some way, been involved in that year's Mania main event. Punk himself has been in the middle of a bait-and-switch situation before, dating back to the summer of 2011 and the aftermath of his Money in the Bank epic win over Big Match John. The straight-edge superstar notoriously walked out of the company whilst reigning as WWE Champion, necessitating the crowning of a new one. An 8-man tournament was booked, originally set to take place over the course of the July 18th episode of Raw, but Vince McMahon went back on that and instead proclaimed the finals between Rey Mysterio and The Miz would take place the following week. Bait, meet, switch. The masked man won, but less than 2 hours later dropped the title to Cena in a move which still rattles some fans to this day. Not only did that negate the purpose of the tournament, but then after Cena had his hand raised, Punk returned anyway, proclaiming himself to be the true champion, and to many rendering Cena's win meaningless as well. Number 5, In Your House, In Your Face. The main event of the third In Your House pay-per-view was essentially promoted on the promise that the main event would result in at least one new champion being crowned. In it, Owen Hart and Yokozuna were set to defend their tag team titles against Diesel and Shawn Michaels, with HBK's Intercontinental title and Big Daddy Cool's WWE title also on the line. So, if, let's say, Owen pinned Diesel in the match, he would become the new WWE champion. Only Owen wasn't even in the match, at least not to start with. Because on that night, the Rocket was nowhere to be seen, his absence explained by his wife being in labour at the time. So, the British Bulldog was drafted in as a replacement. However, towards the end of the match, Owen did come out, only to immediately get pinned by Diesel, giving the dudes with attitude the tag straps. Or so you'd think. The next night on Raw, it was explained that since Hart wasn't legally in the match that he was advertised for in the first place, that the result didn't count and the titles were given back to Owen and Yoko, who then lost them straight away to the Smoking Guns. Number 4, the ultimate surprise. WWE are, of course, not alone in their bait-and-switching ways. Every promotion has probably done it at one point or another, though few are as freely happy to go through with it as WCW. Heading into his strap match with Vader at Uncensored 1995, Hulk Hogan promised that he would be bringing the ultimate surprise with him in order to even the odds, since the Mastodon would have Ric Flair in his corner. Hold on, did he say ultimate? No, it couldn't be, could it? Well, the image of the Hulkster standing in front of some obscured muscular bloke with big hair and tassels certainly added to the belief that none other than the Ultimate Warrior was on his way to WCW. It wasn't a far-fetched idea either, since he was on the outs with WWE at the time and WCW had successfully brought in the likes of Hogan and Randy Savage. Problem was, it wasn't Jim Hellwig, but a man called Rick Wilson who was being brought in to portray the Warrior ripoff, the Renegade. Realizing the hype was out of control, WCW revealed that it was Renegade and not Warrior the night before the pay-per-view, but for many who had purchased the show or didn't watch Saturday night, it was too little, too late. Number 3, the ultimate opportunist. Not all bait-and-switches are necessarily bad, and the one that went down at No Way Out 2009 certainly told a good story. In the first match of the night, Edge was defending his WWE title against Jeff Hardy, Triple H, Big Show, Vladimir Kozlov, and The Undertaker inside the Elimination Chamber. The Rated R superstar was one of the first two in the bout, and shockingly was pinned in 3 minutes by Hardy. It was a surprising moment and looked like a rather limp end to Edge's reign, but he wasn't done for the day. As Kofi Kingston was making his entrance for the World Heavyweight title Elimination Chamber main event, Edge ran out and attacked him before entering the pod and declaring himself a participant in the match. Not only would he eliminate reigning champ John Cena, he would go the distance and eventually pin Rey Mysterio to become new World Heavyweight Champion himself. The whole situation played nicely into Edge's character as the ultimate opportunist, but also made a bit of a mockery out of the brand split and was a blow to the 5 people who ordered the show hoping that Kofi would win the big one. Number 2, the finger poke of doom. Oh boy! A lot of things can be credited with causing the downfall and ultimate death of WCW, but one thing is consistently pointed at as being instrumental in facilitating its decline, and that is the infamous finger poke of doom. Picture the scene. Kevin Nash is the leader of the NWO Wolfpack and reigning WCW heavyweight champion. Hulk Hogan is the leader of NWO Hollywood. They've been feuding on and off for months, and now they're going to clash for the title in the main event of Nitro inside a sold-out Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Hell, the Hulkster is even coming out of retirement to challenge for the gold. And then he prods Nash in the chest. Big Sexy goes down like he's been hit with a bulldozer, and Hogan pins him to win the title. To be fair to Nash, that's up there with the most impressive bumps he's ever taken. So, they then get up laughing and high-fiving with other members of the Order as the whole thing is revealed to be a ruse. A disastrous meeting of ego, backstage politics, and bad booking. The finger poke of doom turned many off WCW for good. Number 1, Survivor Series 1999. The main event of Survivor Series 1999 was scheduled to pit WWE's biggest 3 active stars against each other with the WWE title on the line. Triple H would defend against The Rock and Steve Austin in the headliner, something which no doubt convinced many of the 448,000 people who ordered the show to cough up. Of course, many smarter fans who read newsletters and checked out news and rumors and this weird thing called the internet probably didn't bother, because they knew the truth about Stone Cold's chances of actually wrestling on the show. At the time, the Texas Rattlesnake was seriously hurting and needed to undergo neck surgery. WWE continued to advertise his appearance until the show, where they shot an angle where Austin got run over by a mystery assailant in the parking lot, writing him out of the match. Fans did get a triple threat WWE title match that night, mind you, so they can't complain too much. Who replaced the hottest star in the business, you ask? Well, it was the Big Show, who pinned the game to win his first WWE title.